Rodney Alcala. The name itself sends shivers down the spines of those familiar with the dark annals of American crime. His story is one of deception, manipulation, and unimaginable horror. He was a man who hid his true, monstrous nature behind a veneer of charisma and normalcy. To the unsuspecting eye, he appeared just like any other charming individual. A talented photographer, a chess enthusiast, an IQ that put him in the League of Geniuses. These were the masks he wore. His intelligence and talents were tools he used to lure his victims. But beneath this carefully constructed facade lurked a predator of the most insidious kind. A man whose true nature was hidden behind layers of deceit. Alcala's crimes shocked the nation, not only for their brutality but also for the audacity with which he carried them out. His actions were a stark contrast to the persona he projected. He appeared on the popular television show, The Dating Game, charming his way to becoming a contestant and even winning a date. This public appearance added a chilling layer to his already terrifying story. This chilling fact cemented his moniker, the Dating Game Killer. It was a nickname that would forever be associated with his heinous acts. His victims, mostly young women and girls, bore the brunt of his sadism. Their lives were cut short by a man who showed no remorse. Their stories, tragic and haunting, serve as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary individuals. The pain and suffering he caused are still felt by their families. This is the story of Rodney Alcala, a man whose charm masked a heart of pure evil. His ability to deceive was as terrifying as his crimes. A man who, despite his monstrous acts, managed to evade justice for years. His cunning allowed him to slip through the cracks of the justice system. This is a journey into the mind of a killer, an exploration of the darkness that can reside within the human soul, a tale that reminds us of the evil that can hide behind the most charming of facades. Born Rodrigo Jacques Alcala Bucor in San Antonio, Texas in 1943, his early life hinted at the darkness that would come to define him. His father abandoned the family when Alcala was young, leaving a void in his life that some speculate contributed to his psychological development. Alcala's intelligence was evident from a young age. He excelled academically but displayed troubling behavior. A disturbing incident involving the attempted abduction of an 8-year-old girl while he was still a teenager foreshadowed the horrors he would later inflict. Despite his intelligence, Alcala gravitated towards a life of crime. He joined the army, but went AWOL. He was later diagnosed with several mental disorders, including narcissistic personality disorder and sexual sadism disorder. These diagnoses, coupled with his troubled childhood and early brushes with the law, paint a picture of a young man on a collision course with his own demons, a man whose potential for good was overshadowed by the darkness that festered within. Rodney Alcala was a master manipulator, a man who could weave a web of lies with ease. He used his intelligence and charisma to lure his victims into a false sense of security, making them believe he was someone they could trust. He often approached women on the beach, posing as a professional photographer, a guise that made him seem legitimate and trustworthy. He would offer them modeling opportunities, promising them fame and fortune, dreams that many found hard to resist. Those who knew him described him as charming and engaging, someone who could easily win people over with his personality. He could hold a conversation, discuss a variety of topics, and exude an air of sophistication that made him seem cultured and refined. This carefully crafted persona was his most dangerous weapon, allowing him to gain the trust of unsuspecting victims who never saw the danger coming. Alcala's crimes were rarely impulsive. They were meticulously planned. He would often spend weeks or even months stalking his victims, learning their routines and exploiting their vulnerabilities, ensuring he knew the perfect time to strike. He was a predator who studied his prey, a hunter who patiently waited for the right moment to strike, always calculating and always in control. His ability to blend in, to appear normal and unthreatening, was key to his success as a serial killer, allowing him to move through society unnoticed. It enabled him to operate for years, undetected and unsuspected, leaving a trail of devastation in his wake, a legacy of pain and loss. In 1978, at the height of his killing spree, Rodney Alcala appeared on The Dating Game. This nationally televised show, known for its light-hearted premise of matchmaking, became the stage for one of the most chilling episodes in television history. Alcala, using the name John Bergeron, charmed the show's bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw. He presented himself as a successful photographer, a world traveler, and a man of refined taste. His answers to Bradshaw's questions were witty and engaging, winning over both the bachelorette and the studio audience. Bradshaw ultimately chose Alcala as the winner of the date. However, she would later cancel their date, citing a creepy vibe she got from him. This gut feeling likely saved her life. Alcala's appearance on the dating game serves as a chilling reminder of his audacity. It highlights his ability to operate in plain sight, to project an image of normalcy while harboring a dark and deadly secret. Unraveling the truth. The investigation into Rodney Alcala's crimes was a long and arduous process, filled with numerous challenges and setbacks. His crimes, spanning several states and jurisdictions, were often difficult to link, creating a complex web of investigations. However, a few key pieces of evidence began to emerge, slowly unraveling the mystery. In 1979, the discovery of jewelry belonging to several missing women in a Seattle storage locker rented under Alcala's name provided the first concrete lead in the case. Among the items was a pair of earrings belonging to Robin Samsoe, a 12-year-old girl who had disappeared from Huntington Beach, California earlier that year, adding a personal and tragic element to the investigation. Alcala was arrested and charged with Samsoe's murder, marking a significant breakthrough in the case. A photograph found in his possession, depicting a young girl resembling Samsoe posed in a suggestive manner, further solidified the case against him, leaving little room for doubt. This photograph, along with other disturbing images of women and girls found in his possession, provided a glimpse into the depravity of his crimes, painting a chilling picture of his actions. Despite mounting evidence, Alcala's trials would be fraught with delays, appeals, and legal maneuvering, prolonging the quest for justice. He became adept at manipulating the legal system, often representing himself in court and using his intelligence to exploit loopholes and technicalities, making the legal battle even more challenging for the prosecution. Justice, though long delayed. Rodney Alcala's first two convictions for the murder of Robin Samsoe were overturned on appeal. However, advances in DNA technology in the late 1990s and early 2000s provided prosecutors with the irrefutable evidence they needed. In 2003, Alcala's DNA was matched to the crime scenes of 4 women who had been murdered in Los Angeles County in the late 1970s. He was charged with their murders, and in 2010, after a third trial, he was found guilty and sentenced to death. Even after his conviction, Alcala continued to maintain his innocence, claiming he was a victim of circumstance and a flawed justice system. However, the overwhelming evidence against him, coupled with the chilling photographs found in his possession, painted a clear picture of a cold and calculating killer. Inside the mind of a killer, psychiatrists and criminal profilers who have studied Rodney Alcala describe him as a classic psychopath. He exhibits a lack of empathy, remorse, or guilt for his actions. His crimes were not simply acts of violence but were fueled by a deep-seated need for power and control. Alcala took pleasure in the suffering of his victims. He would often torture them before killing them, prolonging their agony and deriving a sadistic satisfaction from their pain. The photographs he took of his victims, often posed in sexually suggestive or degrading positions, offer a chilling glimpse into his psyche. Some experts believe that Alcala's high intelligence contributed to his ability to evade capture for so long. He was able to outsmart law enforcement, manipulate the legal system, and conceal his true nature behind a mask of normalcy. A legacy of horror. Rodney Alcala's crimes left an indelible mark on the families of his victims. The pain and suffering he inflicted continue to haunt them to this day. They have shown remarkable strength and resilience in the face of unimaginable loss, fighting tirelessly to keep the memory of their loved ones alive and to ensure that Alcala is never released from prison. Alcala's case also highlighted the limitations of the criminal justice system in the 1970s. His ability to move freely between states, coupled with the lack of a centralized database for tracking crimes, allowed him to remain one step ahead of law enforcement for years. In the wake of Alcala's crimes, law enforcement agencies across the country implemented new protocols and procedures for investigating serial killers. These changes, while coming too late for Alcala's victims, have undoubtedly saved countless lives. The nightmare continues. As of 2025, Rodney Alcala sits on death row in California. He has exhausted all of his appeals and his execution is pending. However, his case continues to generate interest and speculation. Hundreds of photographs found in Alcala's possession remain unidentified. Authorities believe that many of the women and children in these photographs may be additional victims, their stories yet to be told. Efforts are ongoing to identify these individuals and bring closure to their families. Rodney Alcala's story is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary individuals. It is a tale of deception, manipulation, and unspeakable cruelty. Although he will likely spend the rest of his days behind bars, the legacy of his crimes will continue to haunt us for generations to come.